Ryan Garcia is an absolute clown. He cheated in the Devin Haney fight, came in overweight by 3 pounds. He was on steroids, and people still take up for the dude. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. He was on steroids. He was on Ostarine, and he did come in 3 pounds heavier. So Devin Haney has every single right to have that loss taken off his record, but people still like dick riding Ryan. Also, Ryan just got exposed. The dude's like, super racist, saying ridiculous stuff. Meanwhile, he's dick riding Tank. He wasn't racist when Tank, beat his ass. He's wearing a shirt saying he's his number one fan, So I just can't stand people like this.
I'm anti-black. I'm KKK. I hate B. Jordan is a bro. My B. Jordan is a I hate him. Yeah. And I hate myself. Hey, let's go bring George Floyd back to life and kill that again.
Why do you skip Jews all the time? Why do you skip
And guess what? I hate Jews. I actually tweeted that. Jews too.
Hey, Ryan.
I'm Hitler.
So what's funny to me is, that's Ryan on Spaces, but a lot of people who are like racist or whatever, closet racist, is exactly how they are. They smile in your face, but meanwhile, that's what they really think of you. It's one thing to, disagree with George Floyd or whatever, but the dude was murdered. You know what I'm saying? It's funny because Ryan claims he's like such a Christian and blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, you're mocking a dude who was murdered. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what you think about who he was in the past or not. It's funny because that's what like people who are racist kind of always will point to. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, guys like Ryan Garcia, he's a fan of Wiz Khalifa, right? Meanwhile, in his head, he's thinking like that's what he really thinks, right? It's funny because, really I blame the parents. His parents probably were saying crazy racist things the whole time. Where was that energy when Tank was beating your ass? You know what I'm saying? Where's that energy when you're, praising Floyd Mayweather and you got Mike Tyson in your locker room? It's just ridiculous. He's a clown. You know what I'm saying? And I tried to take up for him for a while because, I feel like people should be able to say whatever they want, and I still believe that. I think him getting banned from boxing is kind of ridiculous. You should be able to say whatever you want, regardless of how crazy it is. But also, you can't blame people for not wanting to work with them, But look at this. Over here, Khalifa, acting like they're cool. Meanwhile, that's what he's really thinking in his head. He's over here wearing an I'm Tank's number one fan shirt. But meanwhile, what he's really thinking in his head is he hates all N-words, right? Or something like that. And it's funny because he came back and like made an apology, and he blamed his drug addiction or whatever. I've known a lot of people with drug addictions. I've known a lot of people with all types of issues, and it never comes up. The first thing you think of is to go after different races, right? That has to be in your makeup. Here, before Ryan Garcia's fight, I think with Devin Haney, actually, he's over here. Mike Tyson comes in his room. Mike Tyson's black. You know what I'm saying? And he's over here, I'm a big fan, blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, that's what they really think in their head. I've met a lot of racist people in my life, and a lot of them are closet. A lot of them are cowards. They won't just come out and say this, So I got a little bit of respect for Ryan for coming out and saying what he meant, but don't try to backtrack it. If that's how you really feel, don't backtrack it, But how are you Christian and you're acting that way? You know what I'm saying? It's just funny. It's super funny. But this is his apology. So Ryan Garcia apologized in a series of social media posts on Friday after his used racial slurs against black people and disparaged Muslims in live stream comments. And here's his apology. I would take responsibility for my words, the one in the past, and it's been tough the last couple months, but I tell you I'm sorry. All right, so what does it being tough the last couple months have to do with anything that you said? You know what I'm saying? It's just absolutely ridiculous. I've never had a couple rough months, and my first thing to say would be like, oh, go after Mexican people. That's ridiculous. So is Caesar's a clown? I hope he gets his life together. I hope he figures it out. But just beware in life. Some people might smile in your face, but really in the back of their mind, that's what they really think. And that's what they were taught, and that's how they were brought up. But yeah, I got this wisdom tooth taken out, and still a little sore. So if I sound weird, that's why. But keep that same energy for Tank, Ryan. You know what I'm saying? Keep that same energy for the black people who taught you how to box. You know what I'm saying? Your security guard is black. You know what I'm saying? The guy saving your life is black. But that's what you really think, So I hope Ryan Garcia comes to MMA and they put him against, Francis Ngannou or somebody. You know what I'm saying? They put him against Mighty Mouse or somebody like that, and he gets his ass beat by a black man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, don't be trying to backtrack now. Don't be trying to backtrack. I get tired of people thinking it's cool to diss black people or to say crazy things, and this is gonna be all good. And black people coming back and taking the people back, forgiving them, letting them back into society, or just bringing them back into the community. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Mel Gibson, for example. He had some crazy tirade back in the day. Ryan Garcia, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna go on his apology tour, come back a few months later, a year later, whatever, and be like, oh, I didn't really mean it, blah, blah, blah. But it's just ridiculous. I don't really think he's racist, but I think he's a fool and he needs to get his life together for real. And he probably does have a little bit of that in his system. It's probably because he gotten beat by black guys, you know what I'm saying, in the fight game. So he has a little bit of hate in his heart, because Tank put the beating on him. Tank turned him into a racist, you know what I'm saying? Or Devin Haney, he couldn't beat Devin Haney one-on-one, no extra help, So he had to get the steroids. He had to get the extra 3 pounds. You know what I'm saying? And his fans are sheep. A lot of his fans are sheep. They just believe whatever he says. I like Ryan Garcia, but I don't like when because you're talking about me. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about me and my family and people that I love who are black. So I don't respect people who say things like that. And you might have been joking with your buddies, but there nobody black was on the chat. You know what I'm saying? You're a clown. So don't try to apologize. But anybody can apologize. Anybody can change and become better. But stuff like this just annoys the hell out of me. You're a racist. You're a steroid cheat. And you're a liar. You're about the steroids. So it's just weird to see, maybe the fame and the money and the gambling, whatever, it's kind of corrupted him. I don't think he's a bad guy necessarily at all, but he needs to get his life together. This is reminiscent of like Britney Spears going through her meltdown. It seems like he just couldn't take the loss that Tank gave him. And he's just like still suffering through that. And I can respect that. When fighters lose fights, it does have a big toll on them. So, I get it, and I honestly don't think they should have banned him from boxing. That's kind of fucked up. You should be able to say whatever you want, regardless of how crazy it is. This is America's free speech, but I do understand maybe people don't want him fighting and attaching that to him, but it is what it is. I think he should come over to MMA and we'll show him what's up. We'll give him some love.